Let's go to the next clip here.
Joseph Smith, nice guy in many ways, but boy, oh boy, did he ever twist some of the teachings of Christ, not the least of which is polygamy. I mean, you can't read the Bible and walk away saying polygamy is good.
You're a specialist here in this area also. Please.
I'm the specialist? Okay.
You've covered this a lot, all right? You've been throwing this your way a lot, is that right? They try to use this attack, but it's interesting here. He's talking about the Mormons, but I think we should call him out because this is something that, how can he what he says, I mean, is this a factual statement that you can't read the Bible and walk away saying that it's okay to supporting polygyny, actually, not polygyny.
Yeah, he says that the Bible is not saying that polygyny is good, but the Bible doesn't say it's bad either. It's not really condemned in the Old Testament as some kind of moral evil. So where are you getting this kind of sentiment from? It's coming from like later changes, later additions, and the church. But yeah, I think that polygyny is something that is practiced. If you look at societies throughout history, 93% of societies practice polygyny, like one man, multiple wives. This is also something that is part of human nature. It doesn't mean that when you have a polygynous society, like Muslim societies are polygynous, or even Mormons, it doesn't mean that every single man has multiple wives. Some men just don't prefer to have multiple wives, for example. Or they don't have the means for multiple wives. But what polygyny means is that the men who are more capable, they are higher status maybe, they're more wealthy, they have the means, and they can support multiple wives and multiple families, then they will practice that. And the thing about American society, or many of these Christian societies, they're not really monogamous in the sense that every man is a faithful, committed husband. You have what is acceptable cheating. It is expected and accepted that the highest status men, like the movie stars or the athletes, they will have what are called side chicks. They will have side pieces.
What do the Italians call them?
Italians? I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, I forgot that. They have a word where the wife will let the husband, they all have a gula or something on the side.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, so that it's like
the mafia. When they were in the mafia films, they all had their side chick.
Right,
it was known. It was just part of the culture.
Yeah, it's part of the culture. So that in wider American culture, like that's accepted. Like if you are a millionaire, a multimillionaire, whatever, or a celebrity, yeah, of course he has his side piece. Even the most cherished American figures, like Michael Jordan, is known. Like he had his side pieces, not just one. Or every city that he went to, he had his people. Like we're in Chicago, right? So we have to talk about Michael Jordan. Yeah. But yeah, this is something that, or the groupies that go to these concerts, that go to, and they're just waiting for the rock star or the rapper or whoever to get with him. Like this is something that is just part of the culture. It's expected. But Islam says no, like this is not right. Like you can't just be with a woman, use her, and then discard her. Like it has to be through marriage. Like, what if she gets pregnant? What if there are children? Those children need a father. They need to know who their father is. Everything has to be through marriage. And that's the beauty of Islam, that it acknowledges that, okay, this is human nature, and it regulates it in the proper and most beautiful way. If you take out that ability to get married to a second or third wife, then you get this adultery, you get this cheating, the side pieces, this degenerate culture that unfortunately many in the West suffer from. So the West needs polygyny.
They're actually practicing unlawful polygyny. If you look at
the degenerate form of it.
Yeah, degenerate form of it. They're actually, like, I hear this a lot. I mean, just not too long ago, I'm talking to someone, and he's telling me he has a friend. This is non-Muslim, and he has a friend. By the way, he's actually a Jewish guy, and then he actually he's married, but he got some other lady pregnant, and he's happy he's got the child, but the door's not open there, so he's doing it unlawfully, meaning like it's not pleasing to God. Right, where Islam gives you the opening. If you're having high value man, like let's say people who are out there, whatever you want to classify as a high value man, got a lot of money, cars, status, whatnot. I don't think, we can play this game and pretend like he's dedicated to his wife, but he's probably got a handler here. Maybe he's got someone like, I don't know, I'm just guessing, Adam, like the guy from the co-host, right? I'm not telling Patrick, but let's say you got Adam. Adam owns a nightclub. If you got someone like that, he's feeding you these women, right? You're doing stuff, or maybe you got an understanding with your wife who you took on. Say, look, don't ask questions. This is how I am. I'm going to calm down. And she's like, just don't bring it to me. They make up this understanding. This is the reality. This is how it happens.
Yeah, it's disturbing, and it's so common. Like, why do we see the major institutions or even centers of prostitution in the West, like in these Christian societies? Prostitution becomes something necessary because a lot of these guys need an outlet, and they can't find a lawful, like, godly way to go about it. They have to resort to, this oldest profession, quote unquote.
Yeah, and this is a topic in and of itself, but just I think on this one, the Mormons, are right. He's wrong, but Islam actually gives you the practical way how to do it properly, and this is the way of all the prophets of God, right? And now they lie and say this is something bad. When Abraham, and you mentioned Solomon, David, these are the best of mankind. We didn't even get into taking strong exception the lies and slander against Lut alayhi salam, Lot in the Bible, the incest that's in there against him. David, what he did, to hook up with the lady of one of his generals. These are all lies, slanders, and these were the greatest men to ever walk the earth. Islam sets it straight, gives the proper context who they were, frees them of all this slander, but this is their way of life, was Islam, submission to the Creator, not the creation, and they had multiple families. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah. So his argument doesn't even work because because what the Christian will say is that, well, we don't consider them to be great. We don't consider Solomon to be a role model or David to be a role model. Or Lot, we think that they sinned or they committed these bad deeds. Like, it's only in Islam where you consider the prophets to be sinless. The response to that is to say, fine, even if we take your definition of what is a prophet can commit even terrible deeds. Mm-hmm. But the terrible deed, according to you, of having multiple wives, that doesn't mean they're no longer a prophet. You still consider them to be a prophet.
Yes.
Right? So how are you disqualifying the founder of Mormonism, Smith, and how are you disqualifying the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as prophets based on this standard that they are advocating polygyny? Because according to your own book, there are prophets who are practicing polygyny, and they're not disqualified from prophethood because of that.
What about what he said that he gives an example of Adam and Eve? So Adam didn't have multiple, and they were joined together, and you heard what he said. How do you like to respond to that? Well, he wasn't polygynous, Adam.
Yeah, I don't see how that's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't mean that that's not our nature. Like, there are many things that Adam didn't do that human beings do.
What else on this one? So yeah, I think what you said, this is brilliant. That this for all those, look, everyone doesn't have to. It's not a part. Like, I think Mormons, it's a part of the religion. You have to kind of, not all Mormons, but the Church of Latter-day Saints, was it, or that?
I'm not sure.
They outlawed it also.
They outlawed it.
But in Islam, you want to do it, you don't do it. Actually, Muslims are more monogamous than most people running around doing illegal polygyny. Would you agree?
Yeah, Muslims are more faithful.
Yeah.
And you can see that from a number of empirical studies.
Yeah.
You can see that in the rate of STDs that are transmitted. Like, there is a famous map of AIDS in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And the map shows Africa and like a heat map, like where are the areas where AIDS is the most rampant,
mm-hmm.
like HIV, AIDS. And then you have a separate map side by side of where the areas that are mostly Muslim versus Christian. And the areas that are mostly Muslim have the lowest rates of STDs and AIDS, but the areas that are Christian have the highest rates of these sexually transmitted diseases. So empirical data like that shows that Muslims are faithful. They don't practice this kind of degenerate behavior.
And you would have, this is a really important point, when you have these people who have been used to now just the Dan Bilzerians. You've heard of the Dan Bilzerian? Mm-hmm. And the Hugh Hefners, and the whole world for them of the candy shot opens up, and they're just switching women like socks, right? Which Islam condemns. But now they want to turn to God, and now you're going to limit this man who's this is nature, and then he's just used to doing whatever he wants with whom he wants. I had a man come up to me once. This is a jiu-jitsu guy. He came up and out of nowhere, he was like, "Man, I gave this a lot of thought. I was thinking how Islam allows you to have up to 4 families, wives." And then he said, "That just makes sense." And if you're being real, it does make sense, right? It gives that option to those individuals, or just if a man in general, his testosterone's at another level and he can handle it, right? Financially, whatever, what's the problem? And it's right with God. Why are you rejecting to it? Do you think it has anything to do with following the Roman society at one time when they allowed it, and then they allowed concubines?
Yeah. So much of Christianity was influenced by Roman law.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's interesting that people can be guided to Islam through this idea of polygyny. It just makes sense. And unfortunately, you have some Muslims who they reject polygyny, and they say that like even some women, some wives who say, I actually prefer for my husband to cheat on me as opposed to him getting a second wife. So this is like a very ignorant type of mindset.
No sister would say that. Come on, man. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
there are sisters who have said
Stuck
this.
for the law. No.
I prefer my husband cheat on me behind my back with another woman, but that's better. I prefer that than for him to have a second wife, because the second wife means he's going to have to pay for children and be responsible and take care. She doesn't. The second wife or the first wife doesn't want to share. She just wants to. Okay, he has a side piece. I don't know about it, but it's off the books. So I get to keep all of his money, all of his like stuff officially. So it's kind of selfishness. It's ignorance.